A massive fire broke out on Saturday that left so many residents without many answers on when they could return to their home. That fire now under investigation in northwest Atlanta. It's an important reminder to have a fire preparedness plan for yourself, for your family, and those in your household. And to help me talk about that is Atlanta Fire and Rescue Public Information Officer Anare Holmes. Thank you for joining us. This is such an important topic that really doesn't discriminate. It could affect any one of us at any given moment. So it's important that we all communicate with our loved ones and check in on our people about what to do when we experience a fire, whether in our home or in our community.
Yes, thank you for having me. I always say many people have these items that we're about to discuss. They have a smoke alarm. They have different tools. But sometimes in the middle of a crisis, you panic. You don't know what to do. Your mind gets scatterbrained. What we're here to talk about is the preventative things that people can do to keep themselves safe.
You know, I feel like time and time again we talk about, well, in the event of a fire, I'm grabbing my favorite jewelry or, you know, my wallet or my cat, things like that. But then when you're in the moment, the situation becomes serious really quickly and more than we'd like to talk about, deadly, unfortunately. So it is important to be realistic about what you need to do and keep those steps to a minimum so that you and your family can get to safety. Before a fire breaks out, let's talk about prevention. What can we do now to prepare ourselves for success in responding to a fire?
Well, the first thing every home, every family needs is a plan of action. This includes knowing where that fire extinguisher is, that's a kitchen extinguisher that you may have, knowing how to operate that fire extinguisher, knowing where the important papers are that you will need, copies of passports, driver's license, all of the critical things that are very hard to get. Are those in a safe place and they're in one place that you can just quickly grab? Or do you, like some people, have them in a safety deposit box that you pay for extra? You also need to know how to operate everything. Many times when I'm talking to friends or family, I often hear this chirp in the background. That's an indicator that the smoke alarm battery needs to be replaced. So you want to make sure that the smoke alarm works if you have a smoking alarm in your home and all of that. So that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Are there any things that you commonly hear when you are responding to a fire or talking with impacted residents about steps that they maybe didn't take or things that they weren't aware they needed to alarm them, for example, that smoke alarm, that there is a fire breaking out in their home?
Well, what I always recommend is that families do drills time to time. In our industry, we train, we do practice drills. We practice how we play. You want things to be effortless. You want things to be what we call muscle memory. And the only way to have that is when you actively, from time to time, do a safety drill in your home. So what does that look like for people? I know that people will say, oh, I never thought about that. This is as simple as that. When all the cousins and all the grandbabies are around, grandmama, Ms. Emma, maybe mom, just go through it. Take that smoke alarm, make sure it works. How you know it works is, if I have a smoke alarm. Yep. I want to demonstrate.
Let's show the people.
When you have a smoke alarm and it is not operating or the battery it's a constant chirp. Mm-hmm. Now they have wonderful 10-year, 5-year smoke alarms. As this is the case, you can pick it up at your local department store for about $20. But how you know it works, you have to attach it on the base, and then you just hit. That
is loud.
When you hear that beep, that means it works. It's in working order. You're good to go. Make sure, we typically want to make sure that battery is changed. If you have a battery operated system, we say fall, like now, it's back to school season. Go ahead, check that alarm. If you, in the springtime when the kids are being let go for the holidays, check that battery. If you have one of those timers and you know you've bought a 5-year or a 10-year smoke alarm, put a reminder in your phone. Put a reminder in the email, a calendar reminder to about maybe a week before it's going to expire, that notification goes to you to make sure that it works. One of the challenges is sometimes Fires can happen anywhere. You don't know. The thing about an emergency, you got to stay ready
Right.
to be ready because you don't know where it's going to happen, what floor it's going to be on for people that are in apartments. So you always want to make sure that you have that. Next, when you have that fire extinguisher, if you don't have one, I really recommend that you get one. You can also go to your local department store, hardware store, or the local big box retailer and get a small one you can put in your kitchen. The key thing with that, it's called PAS. You want to pull. There's a little pin inside. I brought one.
We have all the props for you today. So I saw this just before we
There's
jumped
a
on
little
here.
thing.
That's
You've got
awesome.
to pull the tag off. Then you're going to pull this pin. You're going to aim at the fire where that fire is. You're going to aim at it. And then you're going to, oh, hey, I got a little helper here with me. So we say we're going to pull. Now we're going to aim. You're going to do what we call squeeze.
And let's hold that up. So, yep,
Oh,
there you go.
You're going to squeeze. Then you're going to sweep because that fire moves. So when don't just hold it in one spot like a gun, kind of sweep with it. That's going to make sure you get the coverage that you need. And what's that called again? That's called pass. We're going to pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. You see how easy that was? Next thing they've got now are little fire blankets. When you're cooking, have this kind of in that drawer that you keep the pot handles, because if a grease fire gets out of control, you can smother it with one of these or something like it. That's always helpful. Then if you can't get the big fire extinguisher, I know our community risk reduction, many people see them out, but they give away these little sprays that are in goodie bags and in gift bags. This is a spray that takes the place of an extinguisher. It can stop something that's happening in an instant, but again, when you need something, you don't know how dangerous the situation is, you don't know what you're dealing with, but these are just some things that you can have in your toolbox, so to speak, so that you're ready for the emergency.
And let's talk about those tools for a moment, because we can purchase the tools and have those in our home, but understanding what type of fire you're dealing with and which tools are appropriate for the given situation is really a major step in responding efficiently. What are the common types of fires that you see, and how can these individual tools be used to address them?
Anybody out there like candles? Use
All the time.
aromatherapy? Don't they smell good? But sometimes, they can be a little dangerous. I always recommend with candles, don't ever put that candle on a surface that's combustible in terms of, I don't know I remember this happened even to a firefighter. I had the candle out and it burned a long time and it left a little brown mark on the tile that it was on. That was an indicator that underneath it was burning. So what you want to do is you want to have something like a stone or a little glass that you sit the candle on, and then you want to always make sure that you blow it out at night. Don't ever sleep, or if you know you're already feeling drowsy, do that safety check with yourself and make sure, are my doors locked and are my all my candles out before I go to bed? Candles is a big one. Sometimes when we're teaching our young kids how to be independent and cook, a grease fire can happen. A big no-no with grease fires is never put water on a grease fire. That is why we often say that you need to have a fire extinguisher, because that fire extinguisher has foam that smothers the fire, and that's a better method to do. And so those are the ones that come to mind.
With the amount of fires that we have been hearing about in Atlanta, I want to reference the Northwest Atlanta apartment fire that has left so many people, picking up the pieces of their lives, and really an unexpected and drastic change to being able to come home and having your home there for you reliably. That is not an option for many of those folks. Let's talk about the fire response that you take after you make the assessment that I cannot put out this fire on my own. I have the preparedness tools, but I'm going to need that help. Walk me through the 911 call and the response then from Atlanta Fire and Rescue to address fires like these.
Immediately, we always say you get and you call 911. After you call 911, you begin to do a accountability report of how many people are in the building and start exiting as quickly as possible. Many kids learn in school, stop, drop, and roll, depending on where that fire is. Because here's what people need to know. When the stuff hits the fan, we often find that in a bad fire that there were people trying to escape, but the smoke got to them. So they're often by windows and they're by doors because smoke inhalation is what really impacts and impairs people. So what I recommend is you take that pillowcase or you take a piece of cloth, because normally you're going to be wrapped up maybe in a blanket. You take the blanket, you cover your face, you create a filter so that you're not breathing in that smoke so that you can get to a safe location. And then that's kind of the immediate things that you do. Like I said, no time to worry about those material possessions. We're all about saving human life.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up, is making sure that you are realistic about getting yourself and your family to safety and following the steps of notifying the proper rescue crews and emergency services. Talking about this fire, this Bell Collier Village Apartments fire, there was some concern from community members about the response time from Atlanta Fire and Rescue. And primarily, we ourselves heard on the dispatch some concerns raised over equipment that was brought to that scene to combat this fire, not engaging in the way that it was supposed to. With the amount of fires that we experience in Atlanta and the large population of folks that rely on men and women like you who selflessly battle these flames, is the city, and are there resources that are sufficient for your fire response efforts, given that we are starting to enter here in the next few months colder and colder seasons?
I appreciate your question, and and members of the Atlanta Fire Rescue definitely understand how frustrating it is for people to deal with uncertainty. Sometimes in a fire, it seems like the minutes are hours. The sense of time, time is a construct. And depending on what's going on with you, your perception of time and your reception of when you see resources happening, that gets a little fuzzy. What I'm here to tell you is I'm here to talk about what you can do to prevent an emergency. There will be greater conversations that our fire chief will have with the public about what specifically happened at that particular incident, and I don't want to get ahead of my pay grade. So I'm here to talk about safety tips, and we're going to keep it at that.
Understood. With the safety tips, so we've kind of showed a few of the demonstrations here today about what tools you should have, acknowledging and understanding which fire you're responding to, whether it's a grease fire or general fire in your home, and then calling the proper help when you determine at that point that you've gotten your family out of safety and you need assistance with responding to this fire. What are the other steps that people should take in I guess, during the fire and in the immediate aftermath to further protect their family?
Well, like I said, the key thing with emergencies is, again, make sure every person, homeowner, apartment owner, make sure you get that hazard insurance, something that is going to cover you in the case of any emergency. I know things are tight and you pinch corners and things like that. Everybody's trying to make ends meet, but never lapse on an insurance payment. It's critical. The second thing is try to, in your own way, have an emergency contact. Have people in your social network that when you need something, you know where to go. Because oftentimes, American Red Cross and some of the safety net programs, they get overwhelmed. And sometimes that is one reason why our agency does a citizens, we call it a search, where we empower neighborhood residents to kind of, in a situation where we can't get to you, you all as a group can cover yourself and look out for yourself until we get there. Because we understand that some challenges are for the professionals and many jobs are for the professionals. But these are some things. Get a hold of those citizen response and academies that teach you basic life support. What we're finding out about CPR is all about those compressions. As soon as you see somebody fall out, what you should do is call 911 and immediately start those compressions, because that is going to pump the good blood that's still in there all throughout the body until we get there. In the case of a fire, please stay away from any emergency. Let us do our job. We know that you have questions. We know everybody's concerned, but I'm always here to remind people, if you have the voice to complain or to articulate, you're breathing and you're fine, and that's a blessing. And we want you to be safe and allow us to do our job. When you see us with the fire hoses and it's blocking the road, I know you want to get to that concert. I know you want to get to home. We know you got things to do, but don't drive through the emergency scene, because if you pop that, what is a lifeline, our firefighters depend on that water supply to knock down that fire. When you drive through it, you run the risk of bursting that water supply line, and then that creates a whole other situation. So we all have a part in this. We all are one at the end of the day. We're a community, and we all got to understand our role and stay in our lane and protect ourselves.
Atlanta Fire and Rescue Public Information Officer Anare Holmes, I just want to thank you on behalf of the community. You are every day waking up and servicing the community with information, empowering residents to be connected to fire resources and really staying up to date on the fires that are impacting their community. It is wonderful work that you do, and I know there is a devoted team behind you that makes that happen. You are going to be joining us once a month for more fire preparedness and safety tips for our viewers to take away, and hopefully you can take that home to your family, to your loved ones, call your mama, and make sure that everybody is on the same page with their fire plan so that you can have a safer home and a safer life. We want to thank you so much. Do you have any final closing thoughts or resources for our audience to check out?
You can always, for more information, contact AtlantaFireRescue.com, AtlantaFireRescue.com. And if you need to call, I'm always mindful for Ms. Emma and the seniors out there who may not be tech savvy. The number is 404-546-7000. You call us with any concern, any question that relates to emergency preparedness.
And with that, I do want to point people to our website, atlantanewsfirst.com. We will have this full interview as well as the resources that were just laid out for you to check out. And you can forward that number along to your less tech-savvy relatives or friends. So we will make sure to stay on top of all of the breaking news and preparedness stories for you here on Atlanta News First and Atlanta News First Plus. Have a great day.